So please excuse if I appear somehow confused. But it's quite early for a musician this time.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Thank you for inviting me, and hi Shells, hi Spider, hi millions of listeners out there.
Millions. Yes, we like the sound of that.
Yes, I like millions of listeners. Do we have those right now? Let me go check.
Check it.
We have 35, but hey, we'll do it.
Hi 35 listeners out there. Great to be on the show. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, before we get into the topic, I just got done playing the real intro. Tell us about that song.
Oh, that's a great song. That's the intro of our first CD, Trevolution, and it's a reel actually, like the dance tune from Irish folk, the reels. And I tried to compose a reel on the instrument I played, the hurdy-gurdy, and that's what came out, the real intro.
Nice. Okay, so earlier in the show, we'll go into what we were talking about earlier and go into your guys' topic. Your topic is that we were talking about with King George earlier, how they had to readjust who they were in their music industry to actually get on to the radio station. So have you guys done that too, or have you heard of that in Germany?
Of what exactly?
Like, say here in the U.S., they have a lot of our radio stations are based on a certain genre. Like this radio station will be, they'll only play hip hop music, or they'll only play pop music, or they'll only play rock music. And do you find that in Germany, on any of the musical outlets over there, that musicians have to occasionally alter how they sound in order to get noticed on some of these places?
Yeah, of course. In Germany, it's really hard to get on the radio. We almost only have like pop or mainstream music stations. So that's really hard. So that's what you can hear on the normal radio stations. On the internet, on online stations, it's a different thing. But what you can get via radio, it's almost only pop music, and it's really, really hard to get into this. So for us, it's almost not possible to get into those stations, because we play instrumental music with strange instruments. With folk elements, and that's something you wouldn't hear on a radio station in Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad, but
it is sad. So
it's interesting that this kind of ties into. We were talking to one of our musicians from Italy last week, and he said something very similar. Italy has very traditional music tastes, and if you don't play a certain kind of music, you don't get played usually, because Italians apparently only really care for one brand of music, and that's traditional Italian music. So he plays a type of instrumental rock that's a little bit different from the norm. So having to go online is kind of the way to do things if you want to get heard, rather than the domestic stations necessarily.
Yeah, right. I mean, there are like tiny little shows on some cultural radio stations where they have half an hour of folk music or world music, but that's like in the middle of the week, in the night somewhere, and not that much listeners to that kind of stuff. So it's a quite small scene, actually, and not very mainstream. But we're working on it.
Yeah. And it's so sad because, you guys are an amazing band. I mean, you are awesome.
Thank you.
So you're very welcome. And it just kind of sucks that no other station is going to pick you guys up to actually experience the awesome that you guys are.
Yeah, but the Germans are not that good in and in experimenting such stuff. So they're afraid that it's too special, that it's too exotic, and they don't try it out. So they're just too afraid to try new stuff out, and they work with the stuff that works for all the time. And yeah, that's a part of the problem. So even with I also play in Faun, the medieval band from Germany, which is quite popular in Germany. We saw lots of CDs and have lots of gigs, but even with Faun, we are very open to the mainstream now. But even with that, we can't get on the radio stations.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Wow.
And it's kind of strange because we talked a little bit just a few minutes ago about the 80s and the impact that 80s music is still having on today's culture. And as far as electronic music goes, and there were an awful lot of innovators from Germany that were really pushing the musical limits. And it's just strange to think how much overall little time has passed, and it's almost like they don't want that kind of innovation anymore. It's like they just want, okay, we got to a point where this is what we like, and that's it. We don't like anything else.
Yeah, right. I have the same feeling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's kind of move into your topic. Your topic was your instrumental, your hurdy-gurdy, as well as German international. Pardon me, I'm also very tired, so pardon me, guys. European traditional dance music. So explain to me about the European tradition dance. How does that incorporate into your music?
There's a big scene of people who dance all those traditional old dances, and it's those dances are mainly from, let's say, the 17th, 18th, 19th century, and you can find them all over Europe. I mean, the most popular dance you might know is a waltz, for example. But there are tons of more dances, like couple dances, like circle dances or dances in a row. And for example, in France, they have a big scene for those dances, and they have it have it since those dances were invented, and they have those festivals. The people get together, they have live music, and they dance to it. But in Germany, those dances were almost died out, and almost no people know about them. So since the 60s, 70s, since the folk revival, some people and bands try to re-establish those dances again. And you can think of those stuff like the disco music of the 18th century. So this is the pop music of the 18th century, and people didn't go to a disco, to electronic music. They went to some village place, to a dance place, went out. People played with bagpipes, with violins, with hurdy-gurdies, and the village people danced to it. So this is the disco or the pop music of those times.
Interesting.
What kind of strikes me is there's a little bit of a parallel in that between something that happened here in the U.S. about, I don't know, maybe around 10 years ago. The swing dance music came back here in the U.S. And of course, the United States is a lot younger of a country overall than like Germany and a lot of the European countries, so we don't have kind of the older folk dances necessarily. But it was a similar situation. These swing dances.
It's a revival of your tradition, yeah.
It was one of the sort of traditions that we had, and it got really big, especially among the younger people. So it's almost one of those things where things that are traditional are always going to come back into style at some point among a certain crowd.
Yeah, right.
And so it just takes the right group of people to to put music to it and kind of bring it into the modern viewpoint.
Right, and that's what we try to do with our music, to bring those dances and this music back to the younger people too, because in the 60s, 70s, as the folk revival re-established those music, those tunes, those dances, it was kind of a thing for the older people, and it was not that hip for younger people. And but since the last years, lots of young musicians try to find those dances and make something new out of it and make it somehow accessible to younger people who normally wouldn't listen to those old music. But yeah, that's a thing we try to do in adding new elements like rock pop, jazz elements to this music, and make it somehow more accessible to the normal listener, to younger people. And we know that this works for other countries, because if you look to France, if you look to Belgium, they have lots of young musicians, young hip bands that play those traditional dance music with a new attitude, with a rock pop attitude. And you have huge festivals where young people come together to dance to those music. So the people in Belgium, they don't go to the disco, they go to this festival and dance to live music, and that's what I really like about this.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Right. So in a way, the old traditional dances is basically making a comeback.
Yeah, right. They're making a comeback.
That's cool.
Some things are traditional in a certain way that they never really go out of style. They just temporarily kind of take a break from the public eye, it seems like, and then when they come back, they're a huge hit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh. That's the thing about tradition. That's why it still lives on. Because every generation, somebody picks it up and brings it forward, and it's changing. That's a thing about tradition, that it's always changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do know that we're going to bring up a little bit at the Renaissance Fair, because I go to a lot of Renaissance Fair. You and I both go to the Fairy Worlds, and I do know that there's a lot of dancing in there. It kind of like brings back that traditional dance, and you'll see that a lot in the Renaissance Fairs.
Yeah.
And so when I'm doing it, I'm trying to follow along, but I don't know how to do the dances. So I'm sitting there, I have to sit back and watch and say, I can't follow this because I don't know it. So, I mean, does that, does that happens a lot at festivals, or is it just certain ones here in the States?
No, that happens a lot also at European festivals, because not on a normal folk festival or a mainstream festival, you don't know if the people know about those dances, if they can dance. So what we do, if we play on a normal festival, we try to do a dance instruction for some simple dances, and that worked very well at Fairy Worlds last time. We got a huge mass to dance those circle dances. We did a little dance instruction for a circle dance, and people were very open to this, and in like 5 to 10 minutes we had them dance a 17th century circle dance.
Cool.
that was really fun. And later on we played a similar tune for the circle dance, and they again got into those circles and danced what we teach them before. So that was a great experience. But yeah, in Germany we have some workshops for those dances. So at some festivals or some workshop weekends, you can learn about those old dances. And we also have, how can you call it? We not only play like club shows or festival shows. We play shows that are called Ballfolk, Bal comes from I think like ballroom, ball folk. Those are special concerts